Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro forecast for the week of September 18th through 25th, 2022. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new here and you're wondering who the hell I am, my name is Mel. I'm an astrologer and the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you are new, welcome. And if you are returning, as always, welcome back. This channel is everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. And speaking of content, head over to Instagram and hit that follow button. I've got loads of excellent daily content. Plus, I go live over there every Thursday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for live tarot readings by sign. All right, so let's get into it. This is actually going to be a very good week. I am excited for this week, and I think you guys should be too, because we've got some excellent astrology this week. Not only that, but one of my favorite subjects is coming front and center, which is relationships. If relationships are not your thing, if you're not focused on them, if you would rather not think about them, then this week may be a little difficult, because I feel like relationships and the concept of relationships, everything that goes with relationships, is going to be like hammered into our heads this week with the astrology. All right. We have a very good week ahead, and I'm super excited to talk to you about it and let you know what's going on. All right. But before we get into the nitty gritty, as always, if you are new to astrology, or even if you've been studying astrology and you need a refresher, I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to everything you need to know regarding astrology, the 4 basic pillars of astrology, which include the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. So I created this 11-page PDF document, which gives you a quick summary of everything you need to know about these 4 pillars so that you can commit them to memory and start studying astrology. But not only that, what I love about the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet is that it gives you the groundwork and the foundation to start reading your natal chart. Now, you should know the natal chart is the blueprint to your life. It can tell you a plethora of information, but when you start reading it, it's a bit confusing. There's lots of symbols, numbers, lines. It can be a lot. So in an effort to help you with that, I created the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which you can download for free. The link will be in the description box below. You just got to leave your email address and you are good to go. All right, so let's get into the week and see what we have. Let's talk about the highlights first. All right, so like I said, there's a lot going on this week, but I think it's really good. All right, so the first thing we have is what I like to call good luck and fortune. So Mercury is going to be Cazimi, which I'll explain further on in the video. And basically, it just means that Mercury is going to be in a very fortuitous position in relation to the sun. Now, anytime a planet is Cazimi, it's in a sweet spot in relation to the sun. And it really just means that we have an extra dose of good fortune and good luck. All right. And the fact that Mercury is retrograde, right? And particularly with Mercury sort of on that cusp of Virgo and Libra, relationships, particularly past relationships, I feel like there's going to be an extra little sprinkling of good luck and good fortune when it comes to those, because Mercury is going to be Cazimi. All right. So we have that to look forward to. Next up, we have sort of what I alluded to before, which is relationship overload. Not only is the new moon in Libra, which is happening on Sunday, going to be all about relationships, but we've got 2 other transits this week, plus the sun moving into Libra, which means that relationships and everything that goes along with them are going to come into our purview and are going to be extremely emphasized. All right. And I feel like the astrology of the week lends itself to this being a good thing. I don't think that we're going to be necessarily dealing with negative relationship stuff. So I feel like it's one of those weeks where if you've got relationship on the brain, if you're trying to mend an old relationship, if you are trying to get booed up, I feel like this is one of those weeks to actually make that happen. All right. Next up, we have what I like to call devils in the details, because Mercury is retrograde and it's going to be making its way back into its home sign of Virgo. Now, we all know Virgo energy is concerned with details, with perfectionism, with sort of being perfect and having everything perfectly organized and categorized. And so with Mercury retrograding back into its home sign, I feel like we'll all have the opportunity to really go back over things with a fine-toothed comb. This is great for not only relationships, but things like business transactions, agreements, and contracts. I feel like we'll all be able to sort of review and reassess certain agreements and obligations in our lives, all right? And this time around, because we're going to have a serious eye for detail, I feel like we'll be able to catch those little loopholes and sort of rearrange things so that they work better for us in the future. So again, I think this is going to be really great energy. And then finally, we have a fresh start because we have the new moon of the month going down on Sunday, which is the new moon in Libra. And I cannot talk enough about how great this new moon is going to be. All right. But I'll get more into that later on in the video. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the week day by day and see what it is that we have going on. All right, so on Tuesday, we've got Venus trine Uranus, and the moon is going to be in playful and lighthearted Leo. All right, then on Thursday, Libra season officially begins when the sun makes its way into the sign of Libra. Thereafter, on Friday, we've got a whole dose of Virgo energy. We've got Mercury moving into Virgo, retrograding back into Virgo. We've got the sun conjunct Mercury, and we have the moon in Virgo. So a lot going on in Virgo on Friday. Then on Saturday, we have Venus opposite Neptune, which is again going to hammer home that concept of relationships. Okay. And then we end the week and begin the following week with a powerful new moon in Libra, which is again all about relationships. So if relationships are not your thing, this week may be a little annoying for you. All right. So like I said, on Tuesday, we have Venus in Virgo, trine Uranus in Taurus, and then the sun is going to be moving into Leo. All right. So let's discuss. All right. So Venus trine Uranus is one of those transits that is really cool. I like it because anytime you have Uranus in the mix, it's all about expecting the unexpected. It's all about, surrendering and sort of letting the cosmos take care of things. And with Venus trine Uranus, it's almost like when it comes to relationships and money, I feel like you're sort of going to need to surrender, put your guards down, because things and people are going to come into your purview and allow sort of things to fall into place. It's one of those situations where you can meet people unexpectedly. Relationships can start or maybe even end if that's what needs to happen unexpectedly. It's about sort of breaking out of your normal routine and perhaps going someplace you've never been before, experiencing things with people you've never, encountered before. There's this element of surprise and suddenness that Uranus always brings. And I feel like when it's trine Venus, we're able to experience the great things, good surprises, surprisingly good energy when it comes to relationships and money. And speaking of money, Venus trine Uranus lends itself to windfalls of money coming out of nowhere. Maybe you have, maybe people owe you money and suddenly they repay you. Like money can really come out of nowhere. So it's one of those feel good sort of transits. But of course, because Uranus is in the mix, it lends itself to surprises. So you have to kind of roll with the punches and you have to just let things happen. Now, in terms of existing relationships, if you find that you've been in a rut, if you find that things have been just a little too routine and regular, Venus trine Uranus will give you that push to experience something new and exciting. So maybe you and your partner want to try something new, whether in the bedroom or not, right? But this is going to get you to want to break free from your normal routine, and it's going to have you wanting to experience something new and exciting. All right. So the fact that it's a trine, I think, is a helpful thing. Perhaps you may not want to rock the boat too much if you're in a relationship that's stable, that's steady. But again, if you're in a rut, I feel like this energy is great to breathe some new life into your relationship. All right. And last thing I'll say about it is that creativity is definitely stimulated. So Uranus has a lot to do with our intuition, our instinct, flashes of insight, innovation, and things like that. And so with Venus being the planet that governs creativity, I feel like Venus trine Uranus will allow you to tap into perhaps creativity that you didn't know you had, or you may get a flash of insight with respect to a creative endeavor or creative project. So allow your creativity to flow, okay? I think overall, the best thing to say about Venus trine Uranus is that if you feel the urge to do something different, maybe you're not a painter, right? And perhaps, under this transit, you are all of a sudden inspired to pick up some paint brushes and start painting or start drawing or doing something. I feel like it's going to allow you to tap into some of that untapped creativity that you may not have even known existed. So all in all, if you feel like doing something different, if you feel like veering off the, known path and doing something unexpected, follow your intuition. I feel like it definitely won't steer you wrong. All right. And then that same day, we have the moon moving into lighthearted Leo. So Leo is all about, lighthearted energy. It speaks to our inner child, but most importantly, it urges us to follow our hearts and our passions. And so the moon is going to be in the waning crescent phase, right? Because we're making our way to the new moon on Sunday. So the moon between now and Sunday, it's going to be decreasing in illumination, which means that it's the time of the month where we get rid of what we no longer need, especially when it comes to emotions, okay? And so with the moon in the waning phase, in a sign like lighthearted Leo, it's all about following your heart. And if anything doesn't vibe with your heart, if it doesn't align with your truest desires, then maybe it's time to sort of cast that aside and get rid of it, right? So it's all about, again, following our heart, being romantic and creative, and again, it speaks to our inner child. So anything that doesn't vibe with your inner child, anything that your inner child doesn't necessarily like or want, you may want to listen to that, because that may be a sign that you need to get rid of that thing or at least change it in some way. All right. But by and large, when the moon is in Leo, that's the time for you to have fun. It's the time to be childlike and creative. So I feel like on Tuesday, especially with Venus trine Uranus, right? It's all about expecting the unexpected. And I feel like with the moon in Leo, many of us will be feeling like doing childlike things. Again, it may have to do with creative endeavors. It may have to do with something that our inner child would really love. I feel like Tuesday, by and large, is going to be one of those days that's pretty fun. It's going to be lighthearted, pretty exciting, especially when it comes to relationships. So enjoy it. Try not to be too rigid. Try not to be too stuck in your ways or not wanting to bend at all, because I feel like there's going to be great energy available to you if you'll just let your guard down and surrender a bit. All right. So that's Tuesday. So now we get into Thursday. So on Thursday, Libra season officially begins, because the sun will be moving into the sign of Libra. And you'll see that at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So to all my Libra sons, happy Libra season. I know that y'all love your season immensely. And so I feel like, you guys are definitely going to want to live it up, do all of your wonderful Libra things, all of that good stuff. All right. So let's talk about it. So when the moon is in Libra, we tend to be very relationship focused, right? Like, surprise, surprise. Libra is all about ourselves versus the other. That's why it's symbolized by the scales. On the one hand side, we have ourselves. On the other side, we have other people. And finding the balance between being our individual selves and being able to relate to people is what Libra energy is all about, okay? So Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus has to do with love. It has to do with money, but it also has to do with things like fairness and equality. And that is the essence of Libra energy. It's not just about having relationships for the sake of having relationships, because if your relationships are unbalanced, what good is that, right? Libra wants relationships to be fair, to be equitable, to be give and take in equal proportion. And in doing so, that's when you find peace and harmony, because above all else, Libra wants peace and harmony, both within itself and as it relates to other people, okay? And that's why, I don't know if you notice this, but I know a plethora of Libras, right? And I have to say that Libras are always the peacemakers. They're the mediators. They're the marriage counselors. Like, everyone comes to Libra in order to settle disputes, in order to find balance, right? And so that's sort of where our focus is going to be during Libra season. Okay. Now, one of the quote unquote negative traits of Libra is that they tend to be indecisive, but they tend to be indecisive because they're able to see all sides of a situation. So it's really hard to make a decision when you can see that this side made some points and this side has made some points. So Libra season tends to find us with a lot of options, but not necessarily the gumption to make a decision when it comes to one. Okay. So indecisiveness is one of those sort of quote unquote negative Libra traits. The other thing is people pleasing, right? Because Libra values peace above all things, Libra can tend to try to make peace or smooth things over, even if it's not necessarily the best thing at the time. Like Libra doesn't want to rock the boat. Libra wants everyone to be peaceful and getting along. So sometimes you'll sacrifice being right or getting your point across just for the sake of making peace. So that's one of those things that you have to sort of look out for during Libra season. Okay. But one of the other things that Libra season brings is this energy of diplomacy and friendship and, being able to be sociable, right? Like Libra is a very social sign. So I find that typically during Libra season, a lot of people tend to be very social, not in the way that summer usually brings, right? But Libra season definitely has us feeling like talking to people. With Libra being a cardinal sign, it's all about starting new relationships. So meeting new people, striking up new conversations with people that perhaps you've never talked to before. Those are some of great activities to do during Libra season. Okay. And then finally, what I have to say about Libra season is that there's a focus on art, beauty, fashion, style. Again, because Libra is ruled by Venus, all of those things come into play. And when the sun is in Libra, it's almost like our consciousness is focused on those things. What's so interesting is that particularly like New York Fashion Week, I would assume that they would do it in Libra season because I feel like the astrology really lends itself to Fashion Week a lot better. All right. I mean, they have their reasons for doing it right after Labor Day, but I feel like it would be best done like right at the start of Libra season because again, Libra is all about style, fashion, putting things together, art, music, beauty, all of the things that we find beautiful or aesthetically pleasing fall under the purview of Libra. So those may be themes or things that reoccur for you during Libra season. All right. So that is Thursday. So now let's move on to Friday. Yeah, no. All right, so let's move on to Friday. All right, so Friday, we've got a dose of Virgo energy. All right, so we've got Mercury retrograding back into Virgo, and you'll see that at 29 degrees Virgo. We have the sun conjunct Mercury. Right now, it's sort of splitting the fence, which is typical Libra energy because the sun had just made its way into Libra, so it's at 0 degrees Libra. Mercury is at the 29th, the last degree of Virgo. So they're still conjunct, even though they're in two different signs. And this is that Mercury cazimi that I was talking about. And then finally, we have the moon making its way into Virgo on Friday. So loads of Virgo energy on Friday, which may or may not be a good thing, but it is what it is. All right, so with Mercury into Virgo, now Mercury is still retrograde, still wreaking havoc as Mercury retrograde loves to do. But when it's back in Virgo, it gives us the opportunity to redo, reassess, revisit things with a fine-toothed comb and a magnifying glass. Now, as I mentioned before, this is great for things like contractual obligations, agreements, business transactions. It's perfect for that because maybe you entered into a deal back in the day or maybe even not that long ago. And maybe it's been working out okay, but maybe it hasn't been working out the best way it possibly could for you. Now with Mercury retrograde, you have the opportunity to go through that agreement, go through the details of that contract or reassess those obligations and see if they really make sense for you and really go through them with a fine-tooth comb. This is when you can take a red pen to your contracts and really revise things to make them make sense for you. So I think that this energy is extremely useful to us, okay? I feel like it allows us a redo. It allows us to reassess things again so that we can move forward into the future a little better, all right? Now, that same day, we have the sun conjunct Mercury, and Mercury is going to be cazimi, which is that good fortune and luck energy, right? So I feel like let's use the example I was just talking about before, right? With reassessing or reviewing or revising these contracts, you may find something that is completely fortunate, right? You may be able to pinpoint a situation that you overlooked before that is now coming to light that you are able to take advantage of, right? So I feel like whatever sort of activity Mercury retrograde is bringing up for you, right? Because of course, it all depends on where this is going down in your chart. But whatever sort of activity, wherever Mercury retrograde, wherever this is going out in your chart, I feel like that's where you're going to get an extra dose of good fortune and some luck. So keep your eyes open for that. And again, if you feel the urge to do something, if you feel inclined to act in a certain way, do it, because I feel like it's in alignment with this energy. All right. And then we have the waning crescent moon in Virgo. All right. And so when the moon is in Virgo, we get emotional satisfaction from making order out of chaos. It's sort of like cleaning up, organizing, and becoming efficient. Right. And so again, I feel like this vibes well with Mercury retrograding back into Virgo. The fact that we're able to redo, reassess, and reevaluate things, I feel like emotionally we're going to feel good about that because the moon is going to be in Virgo as well. So again, if you feel the urge to review something, reorganize something, reassess how something works, rethink about how you can be of service to people, I feel like you're going to not only be successful at it, right? Because I feel like we're going to have that extra dose of good luck and fortune with Mercury Cazimi. But I feel like it's going to give you emotional satisfaction. You're going to feel good about doing that. So even though it's a Friday and, Fridays are, the start of the weekend, that's the day you least feel like doing work, right? I feel like if you want to get some work done, it's particularly reviewing things, reviewing obligations, contracts, etc. I feel like Friday, you're going to want to do that because I feel like it's going to work out really well. Okay. So keep that in mind on Friday. All right. So moving right along, we get to Saturday and we have this element of relationships again, as we have Venus opposite Neptune. So we've got Venus in Virgo. It's going to be opposite Neptune in Pisces. All right. And so while I have to say that this week is overwhelmingly positive in terms of the transits, right? I feel like this is the one transit this week that could throw you for a loop, right? Because whenever you have Neptune in the mix, things aren't necessarily what they seem. Things can be a little cloudy. They can be a little fuzzy. We tend to wear rose-colored glasses, and we don't necessarily see things for how they truly are. Now, the good thing is that Neptune is one of those 6 retrograde planets. So some of the fog has been lifted. It's not like we're completely wearing rose-colored glasses and we're completely ignoring reality. I feel like to a certain extent, you're going to be able to see things for what they are, but not necessarily crystal clear. Okay. And so if you have a solid relationship, now when I say relationship, I don't necessarily mean a romantic relationship. This could definitely be a friendship, relationship with a family. This could be a business relationship. Wherever this is going down in your chart, that's what applies. I feel like if you have a steady, sort of stable relationship, I think for the most part, you'll be pretty good. But if things are on shaky ground, I feel like Venus opposite Neptune can sort of heighten your insecurities. It can heighten things like codependency and things like that. It could lead you to be a bit gullible, to be over idealizing what the relationship actually is. This is one of those transits where you might ignore red flags, particularly blatant red flags. You might ignore those. So if your relationship is not on the best footing, you're going to want to be a bit vigilant, especially on Saturday, because things may not be what they appear to be. And so you definitely don't want to jump to conclusions. You definitely don't want to make any sort of permanent or important decisions on Saturday because things, again, may not be what they seem. Now, because Venus also covers things like money, same thing applies. If your money situation is good, it's on a good footing, it's stable, I think you'll be fine. But I feel like if money is a little precarious, if it's a little shaky, definitely don't make any important decisions or any permanent decisions over the weekend because things may not be what they seem. Now, one of the other sort of qualities of this transit is that it lends itself to things like scams, being deceived. If something is too good to be true, then it probably is. So you're going to want to be vigilant. Try not to be too gullible. Don't believe everything you hear or say, particularly as it relates to relationships and or money. Okay. But on the flip side, the good thing about this transit is that it lends itself to creativity. Okay. So this allows you to experiment with different things related to art, music, hair, makeup, fashion, all of that good Venusian things, right? And if we're talking about Neptune, we're also talking about spirituality. So this may not even have anything to do with relationships or money. This may have to do with your spirituality, your sense of spirituality. And perhaps you might want to take a more spiritual approach to whatever you're doing. Or again, wherever this is going down in your chart, you may be injecting a bit of spirituality into whatever you do. All right. So although it's not the best transit when it comes to relationships, love, or anything like that, it's also not the worst. But regardless, it still keeps up with the theme of relationships. That's the most important thing about Venus opposite Neptune. All right. And finally, we get to my absolute favorite for the week, which is the new moon in Libra. All right. And so you'll see that the sun and the moon will be at 2 degrees Libra on Sunday, heralding the new moon for the month. And honey, when I tell you, it is a nice one. Okay. It's a nice one for a variety of reasons. And if you're interested in knowing more about the new moon in Libra, I'm going to have a new moon in Libra video premiering on Tuesday. So subscribe and set notifications so you don't miss it. Okay. So this new moons are all about new beginnings. It's all about planting new seeds. It's all about setting new intentions. And it's all about new goals, just new energy, new. All right. And so if we're talking about Libra, of course, we're talking about relationships. But what I love most about this is everything having to do with this new moon lends itself to not only starting brand new relationships, but most importantly, mending existing ones. If you want to get back with your ex, if you had a fallout with somebody and you want things to get back on track, this new moon is definitely for you. The astrology is going to support that beautifully. And speaking of the astrology, everything about the astrology with this new moon is like effortless. There's nothing that you have to physically do. It's just you have to sort of let things fall into place. But the thing is, and what I love about this energy the most, is that because Libra is an air sign, it's all about our thoughts. How we think about ourselves, how we think about our relationships is going to have a direct correlation to the relationships that we see in our reality. Okay. So if you are thinking good thoughts with respect to your relationships, if you are setting the stage and you are creating the environment to attract healthy and successful relationships to you, this new moon in Libra is going to provide the fertile soil for that. And I can't stress that enough. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Okay. So just in terms of the astrology, the new moon is going to be conjunct Mercury. Venus is also going to be loosely conjuncted. So you already know Mercury retrograde, even though it's retrograding back into Virgo, there's still that element of relationships to it. Venus conjunct the new moon, obviously relationships, right? And with the new moon, the sun and the moon in Libra, again, relationships. Can't stress that enough, right? Then there's going to be a trine to Pluto. All right. Now, Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's the planet of beginnings and endings, death and rebirth. And what I love about it is that Pluto is also one of the 6 retrograde planets right now. So this is about like bringing things back to life. Things that were dead, things that were done can really be revived almost effortlessly because it's a trine. So there's not much that you're going to have to do per se. Like you're not going to have to be very active in doing things in order to make this happen, right? And then the new moon is going to be opposite to Jupiter in Aries. Now, even though it's an opposition, and oppositions tend to be a bit harsh, because it's Jupiter, it's actually very positive. So the presence of Jupiter in the mix of this new moon is going to provide opportunities for good luck, abundance, success, and happiness. So again, if there's ever a time that you want to revive a relationship, even if you're not looking to revive an old relationship or mend an existing one, maybe you want a new boo, maybe you want some new romance, some new love, maybe some new friends or new business associates, or maybe even, when it comes to family, maybe family, same thing. I feel like this new moon is going to be the new moon for you. And what I love the most about it is it's not about doing anything. It's not about doing a whole bunch of rituals. It's not about doing anything. It's about having the right mindset and creating the environment to attract love. This isn't chasing love. This is attracting love and relationships and understanding and acceptance, right? Arguably, this is one of my favorite new moons of the year. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be super powerful. And I feel like it's going to set the stage for us to really have some great relationships in our lives. Now, remember, it's a new moon, so we're planting the seeds. You don't eat the fruit the same day you plant the seeds. But if you are diligent about planting those seeds at this new moon, I feel like in the coming months, you are going to have some really great relationships. All right. And I love the fact that that's how we end the week. I love the fact that this is how we start a new lunar cycle. I love the fact that this week is just all about relationships, and it's all about sort of reviewing things and making things really work and make sense for us. So again, I feel like it's going to be an amazing week. All right. And with that being said, that concludes this week's weekly astro forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important information going into this week that you find helpful. And if you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. All right. So I wish you nothing but the best for this upcoming week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to know more about my products and services, those links are in the description box below. So don't forget to check those out. Thanks again, and I will see you next week. Take care.